If you're a red rank, Adept Killer is impossible. Getting a 4K with like Adept Leatherface, yeah, get real, motherfucker. Get real. There ain't no gen stalling in Adept Leatherface. It's useless. It's horrible. Like, the game is going to die if it keeps going in this direction. Seriously, people, Resident Evil Resistance comes out in 2 months. And this Dead by Daylight is in a horrible state. I'm getting Resident Evil Resistance day of release. I recommend everybody does it as well. Seriously. Resident Evil Resistance is it's in the new Resident Evil remake, whichever one that is. Was it 3 remake? Well, the new Resident Evil game has a Dead by Daylight mode on it. If you don't think I'm purchasing that day of release, like, seriously. Yeah, behavior better be careful. This Resident Evil game, number one, is already gonna see a lot of buys because it's Resident Evil. And then two, it's got a Dead by Daylight mode on it too. Why would you not try that if you're a Resident Evil fan? And, like, I'm getting the game just for the DBD mode. DBD's in a shitty state. The graphics are way better. You're gonna wait till you price drop. Yeah, that makes enough sense. I'm gonna get it. I'm planning to get it day of release. Because I want as many people playing that game as possible. Because I honestly think if Resident Evil Resistance takes like half of DBD's killer players on an already dying killer player base, what do they do? This is legit the time killers can go on strike. I guarantee you, if DBD's killer place drops like even 25% because of Resident Evil Resistance, it's already dropped like 20%. Well, I don't have numbers, so I can't. I guess I don't have sources. But I do know this: after the Ruin nerf, the killer player base did drop. That is a 100% fact. That the only evidence you need for that is the fact that the queue times for Survivor are abysmal now, and they were bad a few months ago, but they're like abysmal now. They're abysmal, and like, speaking from my own experience in Survivor, I've been to rank 8. That's the highest. The 7. The highest I've been to Survivor is 7. The queue times were never as bad as they are right now, and that's because the killers are leaving. If the killer player base dropped even 10% after the Ruin nerf, and then Resident Evil Resistance comes out and takes 25% of the player base, that's legit 35% of killer players leaving for Resident Evil Resistance. Like, seriously, that is a significant number in a game that is already having problems. I bet killer gets buffed real fucking fast if we all leave for Resident Evil Resistance. They're gonna be forced to buff killers. Yes, exactly. That's why I'm campaigning for Resident Evil 3 so hard. Because I think if Resident Evil comes in, they take 25% of the killer players on an already struggling player base, killer gets buffed real fucking fast. And they tell the survivors to shut the fuck up. Because catering to survivors is legit killing this game. Also, like, seriously, the mode looks great. The graphics look stunning. It looks like a better game, objectively, to right now. And Mr. Silent Shot, I hope you watch it, because I'm planning to stream it when it comes out. So I hope you watch my streams of it, and I hope you think it's worth the investment. I'll tell you what I think, dude. When it comes to Resident Evil Resistance, here's what I think. I think when the game comes out, it's gonna be rough. Because this genre is inherently hard to balance. I think what they have to do though is this is a mistake. This is a mistake that DBD made. When DBD came out, it looked bad for survivors until they figured out what they were doing. When the survivors figured out what they were doing back in like 2016, 2017 when this game came out, what happened was, the devs said that what the survivors were doing was skillful. Even though it was legit an infinite loop that the killers had no counterplay to. This is back in the dark times. And they refused to get rid of it. They refused to nerf the infinite loops because they said the survivors earned the infinite loops via skill, when the infinite loops were honestly a complete oversight. Yes, the revolving door business model is not working for this game, and if Resident Evil Resistance has a player base, if they say, look, killers of DBD, we're offering a better experience with better balancing. Also, it's being developed by Capcom, so Capcom has balanced real games before, so you know they're going to give it their best shot. They say, look, guys, we are going to take care of you. We may mess up, but we're going to take care of you. Because I think when the game comes out, killers are going to win it first, and then when the survivors figure out what they're doing, I think the game is going to go in that direction. The devs need to have the understanding that when the game comes out, the survivors are going to have the advantage. And I think we need to understand that as killer players as well. When Resident Evil Resistance comes out, it may be easy at first, but the survivors are probably going to have the advantage because they're inherently harder to balance. Because it's hard to see what they're going to do as a team unit. That's what's the unpredictability of the team unit makes it inherently hard to balance. However, when the game gets set in stone, yeah, it actually takes skill to plan, of course. And then once the survivors get going, they need immediate nerfs. Immediate nerfs once they start getting going, because they will. And then another thing that Resident Evil Resistance has to do is when they drop stuff, they need to have a strict no nerf policy. They need to have a strict no nerf policy. Strict. And if they can't cater, not even once, they say, okay, when this new chapter of our game comes out, it is in for 3 months with no changes. That needs to be their policy. And they say 3 months. Survive. We'll give you guys breakable walls, insta sabo, and insta heals back. Yeah, fuck you. I don't care, dude. But yeah, 3 months. Resident Evil Resistance comes out, no changes to the kit of anything, killer or survivor. After 3 months, if it's still dominating the highest levels of play, then you tone it down. That needs to be their policy, because that is the biggest mistake the devs are making right now. They release a killer and then immediately nerf them. Because the baby's bitch. And also, if there's one thing that Resident Evil Resistance needs to do, is needs to make Survivor harder. Survivor is not hard enough in this game. Loops are a joke. Running the Killer Shack is legit the easiest thing to do. Killer Shack is hard. It's easy to run. It's easy to run once you know how to do it. The infinite loops on the infinite fence on Haddonfield is. I learned how to run the infinite fence on the fly. Like, seriously, once you have survivor fundamentals, because I have survivor fundamentals, I think anybody that plays killer has survivor fundamentals. Because when I loop a killer in this game, I only am doing based on what I've watched happen to me. If you play killer, you can play survivor. Your opponents as killer can teach you how to run a TL. Yeah, it was just too easy. I ranked up in like 2 of those games, and I think we lost because our teammates were terrible. But like, it's a joke. But if Resident Evil Resistance wants to succeed, they need to make survivors have to play as a team. They have to, because right now everybody can literally play as a lone wolf. The DBD does not encourage survivors to play together. If DBD encouraged survivors to play as a squad, balancing around SWF is okay. Like, Scott John made a point, and he was like, oh, well, you guys don't really want to balance around SWF, because then you'd have to play SWF all the time. But guess what? If the game is balanced for SWF, then we can play around it. And I wouldn't mind it, and I would encourage everybody to squad up, and then get in your SWF squads if the game is balanced around it, and then we do a competitive scene. What do you know? Terrible. I've gotten